Hey, welcome in everybody to a new episode of Papa Moon. Real Talk with Papa Moon. I'm Papa Moon. Today's guest is a long life friend. I've known him over 30 years.
Man, since 1990, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. That was the year you got married. Do you remember the year you got married?
I do. Well, I started working where we worked like right after I got married, and that was May of 1990.
Your first shift back from your honeymoon was with me.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's my long life friend Chris Morrison. He's a paramedic. He's an instructor. He is a photographer.
Yeah.
He records Christian music, and he's a father and a grandfather. So he's wears many hats as well. So yeah, he's our guest today. So we're gonna get right into it. Let's start off with your service in fire. So I have some cheat sheet here because I don't remember very well.
It comes with age. It's an aging thing.
So I just that's got a little. There's a couple things I want to ask you. I mean, so you spent a big part of your life in fire service. What inspired you to become a firefighter?
Oh man, do you guys remember? Do you remember the show Emergency? Way back in the 1970s.
Squad 51?
Squad 51, yeah. It was a TV show based out of Los Angeles that surrounded Los Angeles County Fire Station 51. I remember in kindergarten when it was prime time, watching it, and just the excitement of the fire trucks and the sirens, and I just remember thinking back then how cool it would be. And at that time I lived like 2 blocks from our local fire station, and I used to go up there and it was a volunteer department, and so and it was a small town in Wayne County, so there really wasn't a lot of action, but I'd go up there with my bike and I'd sit there and just wait and be disappointed day after day.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you because I do remember you spent some time in Texas, but that's when you were younger, right?
I lived in the town of Creston, which is where I was talking about. From there we came here to Parma, and we were in Parma for a little bit, and that was in 76, I think. And I think in 78 we moved to Houston.
Okay.
And then we were in Houston, we were in Texas, not just Houston, but we were in Texas until 85 when we moved back to Medina. So I was in Medina for a minute, and that's where I graduated high school.
All right. Shout out Medina.
Shout out to yeah, go Bees, man. Go Bees.
So after all your years in service, what is one life lesson that's taught you that you live by still to this day? Did I say it properly? All your service, your life, all your service. I can't even get it out right.
All my fire service and across my life, lesson that I've learned from the fire service.
Right, that you live by today.
That I live by today. Treat people nice. Be nice. Just be nice. Good Lord, people, be nice.
Right. Find it nice, in you.
Yeah, my most recent fire chief, who that I worked for, who moved on to another department last year, when he hired me, and he'd known me my whole career, when he hired me in, we sat in his office and talked. It was more of like kind of a coffee discussion, and he was kind of telling me the expectations of every day, and which isn't that much. At my current department, it's pretty laid back. And he said when all these things are done, he listed like 1 through 5 every day. He's like, you guys can chill. He said, because when you go to work, you go to work. He said, but what I do require is when you go out and you deal with people, smile, be nice, and just make them remember that in their worst day or their worst time, the fire department was the one that came out and treated them, the way they should be treated. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think sometimes the way I look at it is when you're called, when you respond, they're already at their worst moment. That's why you guys are there.
Usually.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, yeah,
you get
people do love firemen. But people do love firemen, so that's good. But okay. So you did retire. You are retired from Broomfield.
I'm retired from Broomfield Township, yes, in Portage County, which is just south of Kent.
Okay, but you retired as a lieutenant.
I retired as a lieutenant. I had 31 years on the department, and I think 27 of them were as a line lieutenant. Yeah.
Okay, and your leadership. How many men? Because how many men did you? Were you like?
It went from, I think, 3 at its lowest point up to 5 when I retired. Now they're up to 7.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've hired they've had a bunch of new hires since I've retired. New positions that they've added on. So now when I left, each shift was 5, and now it's 7.
So why don't you run them through? What's a day like at the firehouse? How you start off. You guys work what
24-hour shifts? Yes. If you're most full-time departments do 24-hour shifts. I don't know. So I would get there. My shift changed at 8. I would get there usually around 7:30 or so. So I could just have a little social time with the lieutenant on the shift coming off, and the guys and his guys. I'd get a cup of coffee. I would go into the chief's office and sit down with him before actual shift change, and just kind of get a feel for the day. Like, I'd go in and basically say, "What do you need me to do for you today?" A lot of times he would have 1 or 2 things. A lot of times he'd be like, just run stuff so I can do my job today, and take, just kind of keep things moving. And if you need something, let me know. Other days he'd just kind of be like, nothing. We're good, I think.
Okay.
So, so from there I would go out. Usually my guys would be in there. And it'd be a little bit of a mix between, yesterday's shift and today's shift. So, we'd have playful banter, as most firemen know, over the coffee table, and have some coffee till 8:30. At 8:30, we would go out in firehouses across the nation at shift change. After they have their coffee, they do what are called vehicle checks or rig checks. And that means, every rig has to be ready to go. If it's got something that's battery operated, if it's got something that's got a motor, gas powered or whatever, they all get turned on. They all get checked. We check the battery levels. We check the fuel levels. We run everything to make sure that it's performing. Yeah. Usually from there, we would go in and have another cup of coffee, because that's usually a lot of times when the problems, that are going on within your organization, anyway, on my shift, right, would surface. Hey, did you hear this? Did you hear that? Kind of a thing. Oh, let's talk about that over coffee when we're done here. So, that's where we would iron out, our thoughts on union issues that were going on, or organizational problems or personnel problems or whatever. And then usually around 10:30, we would have some type of a training that would happen. Whether it be medical or whether it be fire related. We would go out for an hour and a half, couple hours till lunchtime and do some training. And then we would come in and do lunch. And then usually after lunch, there would be, there's lots of rooms at a fire station. And so usually there's a room or 2 that needed cleaned, and they're broken up by days. So, Monday would be kitchen day. Tuesday would be bunk rooms and day room. Wednesdays would be, bathrooms in the main corridor, whatever, what have you. After we did that, usually, unless there was something else the chief specifically wanted done, I usually had lieutenant stuff to do. So I would tell my guys, give me an hour or whatever to just answer the phone, go to the door, whatever. Give me an hour to take care of the stuff that I need to take care of paperwork wise and whatever. And then after that, I told them, it's free time. From that point, my feeling was the community is paying us to be there to respond for them. Yeah. So usually after that, usually 2:00 in the afternoon, 2:30, things would kind of die down, and we would go into kind of a relaxed mode. And, a lot of time we tried to stay visible until around 4:00 or so, because that's like that's usually daytime hours where people would come into the station for different business and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And
Like
so-
business hours or whatever.
Yeah, business hours, so office hours, or
Yeah.
what have you. And then, after 4 o'clock, you would see, the chief, assistant chief, they would all leave. All the high end brass would leave. And then usually from there, we'd start making dinner plans, or we'd start making dinner. We'd have dinner, and then usually after that, it's whatever guys wanted to do. So we always have guys that were like in school, so they were studying, or doing the homework, or doing online classes. Guys, just like to read for pleasure. Sometimes we would gather in the day room, and we had pre-decided on a movie we were going to watch. Sometimes video games, whatever. And then we were there, pretty much after that. And then all throughout that, the entire day, and then overnight, there were emergency calls that were woven through that. So.
Okay, that's cool, because I don't think a lot of people who've never per se been a firefighter, I don't think they understand, the day in the life of a firefighter.
Right. Yeah.
So I have some really cool questions off the top of my head here. Was there an assigned cook?
So
Who was the cook?
So a lot of times it was me. And this is kind of like, you're saying if people have never been a fireman, they don't know. There's kind of a generalized rule in the fire service that if you are the guy that cooks, you don't have to have any hand in cleaning up whatsoever. And I hate doing dishes.
Hey,
And
fair enough.
Yeah. And my mom taught me how to cook. Growing up, she always tried to encourage us to, help out with cooking. She taught me what seasonings go with what spices go with what. So, to this day, I can conjure up things in my head, new recipes, and be like, oh, that would be really good if I took, these couple seasonings and this spice and mix them together and put it on that and
Sure.
whatever. So I was coming up with, different recipes. Of course, firemen, there's the adage of, oh, firemen love chili and chili cook-offs and stuff. But to this day, I'm retired from Brimfield. And at least once a year, the chief calls me and says, Chris, would you mind coming in and making us a big pot of chili? And so
Wow.
he'll actually, get all the groceries and everything. He'll ask me for a list. I will send him a list of what I need to make chili for the entire shift, whatever day I go in. And then I'll go in the mid-morning and make a big pot of chili and let it stew, till lunchtime.
Yeah.
And, drink coffee and
Right.
sit around and BS with them. And,
I feel like you're back at home.
I'm still part of the union, even though I'm not working at the department anymore. So I'm still in and out of there at least once a month for union meetings. I do pop my head in. Additionally, probably another once or twice a month just to say hey, or to do other business or whatever.
Okay.
So,
And let me tell you guys, I've been in a couple firehouses in Cleveland. They can cook. Firemen can cook.
let me tell you. So way back in the early days, you need money to be able to cook, right? Because you have to buy got to have good ingredients. Way back in the day, now I'm talking like 1992, 1993. My senior guy in my shift, which is the person that's most senior to the officer, usually takes over in the absence of the officer and does the officer duties or whatever. His name was Matt Haynes. And Matt and I were both poor as rocks, man. Poor as rocks. And so we kept each shift at the station had their own cabinet where they would keep canned goods and whatever. And anytime I would be making a meal when I had money, I would always overbuy because that's just how I do. I think I get that from my dad. My mom tells me my dad overbuys all the time when he goes to the grocery store. But I would buy, and so I would use whatever I needed to make a meal, and then there would be a leftover mishmash of canned stuff. And so many times it was like Matt would say, "You got a plan for dinner?" And I'd be like, "Dude, no." And he's like, "You got money?" "No, me either, man. What are we gonna do?" "I don't know." And so it'd be like, "Well, let's go look at the cabinet and see what's there." And so we go up in the cabinet and I'd be like, "If I take this and this and this, oh, we got some rice, okay." And then I would just make these concoctions of whatever. And to this day, Matt says some of the best meals I ever had were just crap that you threw together.
That's cool.
Out of the cabinet when back in the poor days. Because when I started, starting salaries now in the fire service are in the 50s, like kind of on the lower end, maybe in the upper 40s. When I started at 21.5. So, which I know there's, economic difference or,
Right.
in the economy and stuff, and the dollar has changed and stuff, but that still was pretty low back then.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I didn't have a ton of money to be buying like sirloins and swordfish and
Yeah.
cheesecake.
That's what they like now, huh?
That's it's funny. My career was broken up into two kind of halves, kind of like a sandwich. The first a little bit less than half. I was on shift and I was a crew leader, or a crew shift, shift commander or whatever. And that particular group of guys that were on that shift we were all about the same age. We were all married. We had kids the same age, and our values were all very much the same. And so we really were big on let's eat breakfast together, eat lunch together, eat dinner together, clean up together, and it really made it tight. I took over Fire Prevention Bureau for 3 years.
Okay.
And that took me offline. And then I was, instead of working 24 hours on and 48 hours off, I went to a 40-hour work week, your standard, 5 days, 8 hours. Or actually, I made it 4 days, 9 hours. And Friday, I would go in for 4 hours. So I was out before noon. But I was away from and over that time, we hired so many new people that the whole dynamic of everybody out there changed.
Sure.
And then at the end of my 3-year period, the chief came back and said, would you be interested in going back out online? And I said, yeah, I would actually. And he said, well, let's see if we can make that happen. He told me what shift I was going to go to. And the guys on the shift, I absolutely loved. I loved talking to them while I was in fire prevention. Funny guys, great guys, hard workers, all that. But when I got out, that was one of the first things that I was looking forward to was let's sit down and let's do the whole meals thing every day. Sure. And get tight, and whatever.
Camaraderie, yeah.
Camaraderie, right. These guys, okay, so so I had 4 guys and then myself, so there were 5 of us. One guy's wife always made him lunch and sent him with a bag lunch or a bag dinner. And so, he was like, not that he never bought in, but a lot of times he'd be eating what his wife sent.
Yeah.
One guy ate Chipotle, I believe 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. And so I just counted on him going to Chipotle.
Sure.
And then the other 2 and those 2 kind of, as guys got hired and other guys left to go to other departments, those were kind of rotating positions. So, but each new person that came in, those 2 positions seemed to be, whatever, we'll go buy whatever. Every now and again, I would make something and they would go in on it. But that was something I didn't have the second time around. And I would even complain to them, like, you guys, come on, I'm making this, well, maybe we'll have it. So I'd make something and sometimes they'd have it and sometimes they wouldn't. Yeah. The brass row, I'd be like, hey, they don't have to eat it, we'll eat it. And I'm like,
of course,
made it for the shift.
Hey, no, 100%. Yeah. I know how that works with the supervisors, you know what I'm saying? So let's see here. I have my chicken scratch and I can't even read it. So we're just kind of working across the top of my head because I can't read my own chicken scratch here, Chris. So let's get into your what about like your photography?
So before I got in the fire service, I attended University of Akron, and my major was mass media production with focus on photography. I went that direction because at Medina High School, there was actually a photography department, and I took a number of photography classes in high school. So I felt like I was already going in with an interest and some base knowledge of photography. And so I ended up, getting involved in those types of classes, through my college years. And I got to thinking about it, and I kept fallen back on, but this is not firefighting, and I don't know how. I just, as I was chewing on it, I was thinking about, because when if I come out and I'm a photographer and I graduate and that's like what I do, I really like the creative end of photography and the editing and all that kind of stuff, post production work. And so I was like, I'm going to go to work for somebody that's going to be telling me, this is where you're going, this is what you're taking, this is how you'll do it, whatever. And I really felt like it was going to lose some of the artistic angle of it. And I didn't like that. And so I started talking to my wife about it, or my fiance at the time. And I remember, she was like, well, hon, you got to do what's going to make you happy. And if that's not going to make you happy, then, are you doing the right thing? And I remember sitting in the student center one day, my sophomore year, I think, at Akron U, and she came in. She would come in. She went to school at Eastern Michigan, up toward Detroit, Ypsilanti. And so she would come down and visit every few weeks. I would go up there and visit every few weeks. And she was home for a weekend, and she came to see me. And she was like, so I had lunch with your mom today. And I was like, what?
Right.
I was like, oh boy, that can't, what's that going to mean? And I was like, okay, and I said, well, okay. Well, I didn't even, because that, it was something she initiated, and I don't think that's something she had ever initiated before. And so I was like, okay, well, what was that about? And she said, I told her that my mom, and I felt like my mom and dad at the time were very much like, you will go to college, you will get a degree, that kind of thing. And not that I was against that, but it was more like what I was doing. And so she said, well, I told your mom that you were kind of having some thoughts about not wanting to do this, and told her, my feeling is that if you're going to trudge off to a job that you hate every day, you're going to hate your life. And and she's like, and what good is that? And so she said, my mom's response was, I never knew he felt that way. And and so she said, you tell him, we want you to be happy, you do what you feel is going to make you happy. And so not too long after that, I applied to Tri-C's paramedic program. And that kind of, that was in 1991.
And that's when he and I.
Jerry was an EMT when I first met him, and so we were partners for my first few years in EMS.
That a ride? Boy, that was a ride.
We got so many stories about it.
Oh, look, this is Real Talk with Papa Moon on Script Down Filter. Well, the filter is about to come off. Oh, no, me and Chris had some really, really good times together. It was some best time. One of the best jobs I had, because, me and you working together. I don't think there was 5 minutes without laughter in that.
It's true.
In that ambulance. We were definitely goofy.
We had such a good time though.
Oh,
it's like, I think back, in some ways that time was some of the best years in working in the emergency services that I had, for different reasons. I could say the fire service has been the best for different reasons, but just we laughed so much every day, all the time.
And it wasn't just a laugh, it was like a gut wrenching belly laugh.
Do you remember we were coming to the end of a shift, and we had gone to fill the ambulance with gas, and we were at the gas station, and we were laughing like jackals about something. I don't remember what it was, but and I had been filling, and we went in together when the pump stopped, and we paid. And I think there was a corporate card there or whatever, so we paid. And then we were laughing about whatever we were laughing about initially as we were walking out the door, and we both got in the ambulance and we drove away. And when we got back to the base, our boss was there, and he's standing outside, and he was like, you guys need to go back to the gas station. And I was driving, and we're like, okay, maybe something went wrong with the credit card or something like that. And what actually happened was I had not taken the nozzle out of the. So we drove.
We had to take the
So
nozzle
we
back.
we drove away with the nozzle hanging out of the gas tank hole. And when we got back to the gas station, the pump had been turned 90 degrees. And
yeah.
yeah.
But another funny thing, we were speaking on the gas. So one of our supervisors, was a family-owned business.
Yes.
So one of the brothers, he was the one that would always he would have to add up all the receipts we gave him for the gas. And he used to say, guys, can you make it like an even? And never did we ever make it even. We always had an odd number just to throw him off, and he would lose his mind. He'd come in and he'd be like, you guys, you're the only one.
Why are you guys doing that? I don't understand why you guys are doing that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And and I was along the way, we met so many good people at the hospitals and the nursing homes, and I think you and I, we just have a knack for talking and interacting with people. We do it well. I think I mentioned to you a couple weeks ago that there's this one female. She worked at Lutheran. She's still at Lutheran, and I had worked at Lutheran for 17 years at a different capacity. And she came up to me when I first started working, and she goes, "I remember you and Chris." I go, "Oh my gosh, Valerie," and she is still there. And her and I we exchange on Facebook. We talk back and forth, but it's just weird how you build like relations. I mean, like some of the firemen that you work part time there. At the time, because at the time when we first started, you were just a paramedic. You wasn't the fireman.
Correct.
And then you became the fireman.
Then I became a fireman. I went to Brimfield because I lived in Kent at the time. I got hired by Brimfield on an on call. It was before Brimfield became a career department.
Yeah.
So I was on an on call basis. Shortly after that, we moved to Seville.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then
yeah.
I don't know. I still to this day don't know how it happened, but Seville EMS contacted me. So there must have been a communication link there somewhere, because they contacted me and said, "Hey, we heard, that you had moved into town and you're a paramedic, and we really need paramedics. Would you be interested in a job here?" And so I started, I think my first year there, I was doing on-call nights with them, where they would pay me like $2 an hour stipend just to sit at home.
Okay.
I saw I was doing it like 2 or 3 nights a week, which, that and we were paid monthly. So at the end of the month, that was a nice little,
Surprise check.
Yes, a little surprise check, right?
Yeah.
And then they called it part-time. It was essentially full-time position came open that was 12-hour shifts, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, skip Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then 7 days off. And so that was my first, and it paid insurance, because it was 36 hours a week. They said it was part-time, but it really was full-time, because I had the benefits, I had decent pay, I had a good shift, and then I had on my week off, I would go and work. I would do sign-up shifts at Brimfield, and did that until Brimfield gave us civil service tests, and we got hired full-time there.
Nice. Yeah, that's we've built, as I was getting at, we've built, relationship with a lot of good firemen, funny firemen.
Jerry Madden.
Oh my gosh.
Jerry Madden.
So Jerry Madden, I was at Lutheran working my shift where I just started there. I'm walking down the hallway and I hear, "Holy moly, Jerry Mooney." I turned around and I go, "Jerry Madden?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Do you remember Jerry Madden was a bigger guy?"
Yeah.
Jerry Madden was half his size. He had lost that much weight. And I didn't recognize him. You know why I recognized him? It was the voice.
Yeah. Have a deep voice.
Oh yeah. And you'd hear him because he worked as a paramedic in the ER. That's why he was saying Lutheran as ER.
Yeah, he was on Cleveland Fire on Rescue 2.
Rescue 2, 117th. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out Rescue 2.
But he, you could hear Jerry a mile away, and just that distinctive voice. You knew who it was.
And he was like the king of one-liners too.
Oh, we can't get into the wine line. Yeah, him, Matt Sheehan was his partner.
Matt Sheehan, yeah.
Now Matt Sheehan's son is a sergeant, I heard, with the Cleveland Police Department.
Oh, okay. Very
So
cool.
he stayed within the civil service, but his dad, I always say, the smart ones become firefighters. But
I always told our cops, because our cops would come over to the fire station and hang out, and my shift had a really good working relationship with our police department. And so a lot of times when I made dinner, if my guys didn't want to eat
they
it,
come knock at the door.
no, they wouldn't come knocking at the door. I'd call dispatch and say, hey, who's working? And they'd give me the names of the 3 or 4 cops that were on the road. And I'd say, hey, I'd call whatever sergeant was on the road and say, hey, I made this for dinner. There's plenty. If you guys want to come over and eat.
Nice.
They came over all the time and ate, which was great because it created, some camaraderie with the police department.
Sure.
And so when we would go out on calls together, I knew they were going to have our back. We also had already built that camaraderie, so we'd be out on calls and there'd be no problem laughing about things together.
Sure. 100%.
And that kind of stuff. So
I think you guys do 2 different jobs, but yet at the same time, it's the same job.
Yeah,
You're there to serve the people of the community, take care of them, make sure they're good. I've always heard the saying that fire departments was one big red dysfunctional family.
Oh, that couldn't be better stated. I tell people being a lieutenant at a fire department is kind of like being a dad at a frat house.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I could only imagine. I mean, because I never really got that spunking with guys, or whatever. But I got that a little bit from working at that company we worked for. You see it there, like you walk into you feel like you're watching a child show. I mean, you're just and you just can't laugh. Do you remember? I have a real funny one for you. Do you remember the guy that worked at Newburgh Heights? Big, tall, skinny kid, right? He was always like, he would walk and be like, "Hey guys," had big, thick mustache. He worked at Newburgh Heights.
Billy Hubbard.
No, Billy was a heavier guy. It wasn't Billy. We'll think of it. It'll come to us. But he and I worked together. We worked a late shift, and the guys were in the bunks, or somewhere in the bunks. They worked a 24-hour shift. We only worked a 12 that day, and the guys were in the bunks, and some were watching TV. It was quiet. The lights were dim, and they had a big bowl of popcorn there. And we were in the garage, and you got to come through the garage to get to the bunk room, to kind of clock out.
Yeah.
And so he goes, "Man, heck with those guys. They're all relaxing." He goes, "We're out there busting our butts, handling all these calls." He goes, we got them. He goes, you take this wrench. That steel, you'll steal that steel sink right before you go into the bunk room. He goes, "I'm gonna go to the door. I want you to start beating on that sink, and I'm gonna fly the door open." So he goes, "Bum, bum, 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 bum." I start beating. He flies it open, and they go, "Ah!" The popcorn goes up in the air, and 5 guys try to get through one doorway at the same time. And he's like, "That's what you get for relaxing. Let's go." And we left. It was so stupid.
That's right. Yeah, that is. But that kind of leads into firehouses are dens of practical jokes.
Yeah, I bet.
And I mean, one of the best. If you haven't seen Ladder 49, that movie at its time did a pretty realistic job of depicting the fire service and the in-station life that the guys had, because throughout that movie there were a number of practical jokes that were played on different people.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because practical jokes now, not that they don't happen now, because we at Brimfield for a while we had a guy that would lay down on a creeper and crawl underneath one of the engines or one of the squads, and then say, "Go get somebody, go get so and so, and have them come out here." And so, "Can I talk to you out here? I just want to be private." They'd bring him out and bring him right by where he was underneath the truck.
Yeah.
And then he'd get a hold of the truck and just pull out from underneath, like that, and people would lose it. They'd go through the roof. They'd lose their minds. But a lot of those practical jokes now have turned toward the probie. Probies, we call new guys for the first year in the fire service probationary firefighters, and so that it gets shortened to probie. And a lot of those practical jokes now get played on probies. And so I've been fortunate to have gone. I had 8 appointments to the National Fire Academy
Nice.
in Maryland, and countless classes down to the Ohio Fire Academy, where you're mixing with guys from all over the state. And at the National Fire Academy, firefighters from not only all over the country, but all over the world, because it's the best fire academy in the world. And it's funny because no matter where you're from, things are the same, even though they're different.
Sure.
So I had numerous conversations about firehouse pranks and probie pranks.
Yeah.
And a great one out of, we'll just call it Columbus. I don't want to, a great one out of Columbus area. It wasn't Columbus proper. This guy was telling me every time they would hire a new class, they'd handpick a probie, and like within their first or second day, they would say, all right, it's really important. There's a lot of things that need done every day that are just prepped for the day and that kind of thing. And so they said, this is going to be your job every single shift. So pay attention to how we do this. All right. So we took him out to the bay, and he got a 5-gallon bucket, and he took him over to a spigot on the wall, and he said, fill that bucket up. So kid turns the spigot on and fills the bucket up. All right. And he starts walking away, and the kid's like, stand there. He's like, well, what are you doing? Get the bucket and come on. And so, oh, all right. So he gets the bucket, then he follows them, and they go into the building, and he goes, see that water fountain right there? And he's like, yeah. He's like, go ahead and pour the water down that and fill it up. And he said, the kid's just like, what do you mean fill it up? He's like, fill up the water fountain. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, where do you think the water that people drink from comes from? He's like, he said for weeks, this kid would come in every day and fill this 5-gallon bucket of water and go over. And he said they'd be down the hallway watching down the hall and watch him do it. And they'd be in there howling, watching him do this. Another one, my son, actually, one of his departments did this, and he caught it on video twice with 2 different probies on the same day. My oldest son is also a firefighter. They would have the probie during the truck checks open the top where you fill the water tank on the truck, and put a stick down there, and you got to agitate the water and make sure that it's ready to go.
Yeah.
So these guys would be up here with this big stick, and they'd be like agitating the water, and and they'd be sitting there laughing while they're just like stirring the water for no reason at all. And so he sent me a video the first time, and he was like, got one, whatever. And then like a couple hours later, I get another one of a different guy. He's like, 2 in 1 day.
So, he's putting like stamps on the wall. Got one. Got another one.
Right.
Stamp it.
Right.
That's funny. Oh my god.
Yeah, there's a lot of practical jokes that go on at the fire stations, and some of them are side splitting, some of them are just they're cute, they make you chuckle a little bit.
That's
but
funny.
it's all in good fun, and
and
it actually helps build the camaraderie too. You can watch videos on YouTube of New York City firehouses. I've seen hundreds of them where they'll bring somebody just outside the bay door, and somebody will be a window up with a 5-gallon bucket of water, and like they'll tell them, we need to have you go out and change, bring the flag down or put it up or whatever, and it'll be like right outside the door. And so they'll go out and they'll take this 5-gallon bucket and pour water, pour a bucket of water on them or whatever.
I think was that the movie you're talking about? Is that based out of New York?
That's based out of Baltimore.
Okay, because I've seen a movie. It was based out of New York. Oh, you know what? It was Backdraft.
Backdraft was based,
and they showed a lot of different pranks
too. They did, yeah.
That was pretty funny. That was a good one. That was a good one. But so one more hat that you wear besides father and grandfather. You record. You record music? You have any songs that like maybe we could look you up and hear? You got anything out or?
So a lot of the recording, in fact, it's funny, I just had a conversation through text with my mom about this last night. Because I've been in the studio. A friend of mine has a studio in Stowe, and I've been in and out of his studio for the last probably 4 months, uh, helping him on some of his projects, and he's been helping me on some of mine. And she was like, "Oh, you should put it out there or whatever." And I was like, I really do it for me. I'm not putting a bunch of stuff out there. I had a band probably 10 years ago, and we did a short studio album. I think it had 7 or 8 songs on it, and we never really released it to anybody. We just kind of did it for ourselves, and some close friends and family got copies of it and stuff. But
I don't have a copy of it. And I'll be honest with you. Honestly, I've known that you've recorded. I know you play a couple of different instruments.
I do. I play piano.
And
I
I'll
play
be
guitar.
honest. As long as I've known you, I've really never heard none of your music. So we're gonna have to, when we're done here, we're gonna have to hear some of his music.
I can when we're done, I have a couple, I think.
Yeah,
in MP4 format on my phone. I'll let you hear one before I leave.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love to hear. With my son, doing music, I love to hear the local guys. You know what? These guys are mainstream. They're making a ton of money. I rather reach out and support the local guys. There's a show tonight. Me and my son may go to. It's over Northfield. This guy, his name is Zup. Shout out Zup. You got some good music, but
Zup, I haven't heard you, but man, he's talking up a storm.
I'm gonna listen to you. He's got Halloween show tonight. It's free. He's performing with a couple other acts. But I want to go out and support him, and so I just enjoy going to these local venues and supporting these guys. So
yeah,
I'd love to hear your music.
I mean, I've played. I started playing guitar in church when I was 14, and over the years, that really developed and really grew. And I've been in and out of a number of different Christian bands as a guitarist, as a vocalist. My church currently, I go to a mega church. We have, I don't know, 4,000 members, 3,500 members.
Oh, wow.
And there are several different, within the building on a Sunday morning, there's more than one service that happens at the same time. And each location has its own band and a different type of music. So,
Interesting.
if you prefer a certain kind of music, there's a certain venue that you can go to within our building. The main sanctuary band is like a contemporary kind of music that you would hear on a contemporary Christian radio station. And up until probably August last year, I was playing with them for probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years. I think I was up there probably, I don't know, every third week, fourth week, something like that. Because there's so many people that play. Each position in the band is like 3 or 4 people deep, so they're trying to get everybody play time.
Okay.
So
you're in one of the bands also?
I was until about August of last year,
Okay.
and they did a little bit of a change in how direction they wanted to go with music and stuff. So
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I tell you, I said, you're this is episode 3 for Papa Moon. And the first one, I had a guy on, he wore many hats. Now we have Chris. Chris wears quite a few hats. Quite a few hats,
Yeah.
and that's it. I love that you dip your toes in so many different things.
I just can't sit. I'm the type of person that can't sit still. I got to be doing something all the time, and I think it drives my wife crazy sometimes. I don't know, because she's a homebody and she's all about I want to be at home.
I know.
Jerry knows my wife, Leigh.
Yeah, we know Leigh.
Yeah, and
she's like the wife from the 50s. You know what I'm saying?
she's gonna love that.
Leigh, I'm sorry. It's just as a compliment. I mean, she makes sure the house is good.
She does.
She makes sure that dinner is done.
She does.
She makes sure you're good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, back again, it's not a knock on her, but back in the 50s, that's what the role of the wife was.
Well, and it's funny
it's
because
not like that no more.
Well, guys at the fire station that hadn't met her yet and were asking about her, or different places where I have worked or whatever, where family comes up in conversation, and guys haven't met her, they'll say, well, tell us about your wife. And one of the things that I've always kind of said was, she was raised in an atmosphere that was very much kind of like that. Like
Yeah.
her dad would go off to work. Her mom worked, part-time job here and there. I don't know if it was full-time or part-time, but I know that, when she came home, she looked at stuff like, I need to have a hot meal on the table when your dad comes home.
Sure.
And to this day, her house is pristine, and and she always had a hot meal on the table and was always trying to take care, kind of approach things from that. So I think that, those roots are there.
Sure.
And, she's always like, what do you want for dinner? Well, I'll take care of it, and yeah, she's very,
Yeah, no, 100%.
she's my best friend in the world.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I just think it's crazy that I worked with you your first shift after your
my honeymoon. Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That was crazy.
And that was 35 years ago.
Yeah. As silly as you and I are together, I mean, I really enjoy this time because I haven't seen you like forever.
This is the first time we've been together in person. I can't tell you how long.
It's been a while.
It's been 15 years.
Maybe more.
Yeah.
Maybe more. So, I mean, as silly as we are, I'm like, man, maybe we should take a comedy show on the road.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that'd be great.
But anyway, let me go back to so I've played in Christian bands almost my whole life. I had a duet, a guy that I played with, just the two of us. We wrote all our own music. We kind of toured around all through Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Michigan, Pennsylvania, I think too. When he went off to college, that kind of broke up. We got back together a few times just for a performance here or there, but then he ended up getting married. He lives in Columbus now. We still see each other a couple times a year because I have a real tight high school group that I'm still tight with, and we try to get together 2 or 3 times a year as a group.
Sure.
Which is always a hoot. Because we're all married now, and and we're all still really good friends.
Yeah.
And so now I'll take a guitar. I've been a missionary to India for the last 10 years, I think.
Nice.
And so I've had, I think, 8 trips to India, and I always take a guitar. And my parents they have a mission group called Vine and Branches India Foundation.
Okay.
And they provide for fresh drinking water wells in remote areas of India where people have to take like a 5-gallon bucket and walk a mile or 2 miles every morning, scoop up static water that maybe animals were bathing in, or whatever, take it back to where they live, boil it, and then that 5 gallons gets them through their cooking, their laundry, their drinking, whatever for the day. And then you get up the next morning and rinse and repeat. Well, you can imagine that's still as much, they'll boil it and stuff, but there's still disease runs rampant there. Sure. And that kind of thing. And so if we can provide a fresh drinking water well in a remote area that serves several little villages, it's kind of central. A lot of times we try to find a Christian church and put it on the grounds of the Christian church. So because it's predominantly Hindu and Muslim over there. And so that allows those people to come get their water and allows the pastor of the Christian church to go out and talk to them as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been fortunate to have gone to India a number of times. And I've that's like one of my passions is traveling. I've been all over the world, all over Europe, Africa, Israel, Cyprus, Turkey, Greece, Greek Isles, Italy, India.
Don't forget Scotland.
England, Scotland's part of
You got a buddy in Scotland.
Yeah, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, France, Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
And then I told my wife when I retired, we would do some traveling together, because most of those trips she didn't go on. I went on them with my parents. So since we've retired, or since I retired, we've been to Mexico a couple times, Belize, Honduras, Puerto Rico. And so I try to travel abroad at least once a year.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a Puerto Rico trip together because
oh my God, Puerto Rico is amazing. If you got,
I don't have a passport yet, so so I could go to Puerto Rico without a passport.
You can go. Yes, you can, because Puerto Rico is an American territory. Yes.
So so you still have the photography business, correct?
I do not. So my
Okay.
photography business, which we never really got into the business part of it,
Yeah.
because I went the fire service route. But for 20 years, I had a photography business called Luxuries Lens Photography. I did pretty much anything you can think of.
Yeah.
My bread and butter for that was like senior portraits, family portraits, engagement photos, weddings.
Yeah.
And I did cars, like classic cars and motorcycle shoots for people. I did a handful of police and fire department photo,
Yeah.
group photos. And
Yeah, see, as I was going to say, because I was going to have you shout out your business, somebody.
I can shout it out all you want me to, but it's dead after COVID.
Okay. So I want to open up the floor to you to talk to Papa Moon's audience. Inspire them, educate them. The floor is yours. You got give it to them.
Man.
This is your time.
I feel the weight of the world.
Because you know what,
we're right now.
Because we're gonna get back together. Because I don't think we've even made it to the top of the hill yet. Between you and me, we're gonna have to have probably another 2 shows.
When he called me, it was out of the blue and said, "Hey, Chris, I'm doing this podcast." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I just want to do it's something fun to do, on the side, And I was thinking, I said, "What's the crux of this podcast, Jerry?" And because I wasn't sure where this was going to go,
Yeah.
and so he says, "Well, I believe everybody has a story." And I think that it would be great to give everybody a platform to just get up and talk about whatever their platform is, and I'll just interview them. And I was like, "Well, that sounds kind of cool. What are you calling it?" And he said, "Real Talk with Papa Moon." And I was like, "What?" And then he has a logo that has like a caricature of him. So he sent it to me and I showed my wife and we were cracking up because we thought it was so great. And he said, "Well, I was kind of hoping you might be one of my first guests because you're very diverse. You got a lot going on and there would be a lot to talk about." And we were laughing on the phone. And I said, "Dude," I said, "what we'll talk about." I said, "How long is an episode going to run?" And he's like, "Probably an hour, maybe." And
hour, 45 minutes to an hour.
yeah, and I was like, "Ain't gonna do it. It's not gonna do it." I said, I'm gonna be on every 4th or 5th week.
So this is episode 3. Our next one we'll call it episode 3.5. I know you have something to tell them. Just inspire them.
Yeah, man. He just gave me the microphone. That's dangerous. And I feel
like you've never been in front of one, but
well, that's true. I've been in front of them my whole life, but gosh, if I had to inspire them, that kind of took me. That was he broadsided me with that,
or educate them. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, tell them.
What?
People that's watching.
I think I'm gonna go with start with what what I was told when I got hired on at my current fire department, which is just when you're out there, we live in a crappy world right now. If you are watching the news and you're watching what's going on, and the current events of the day and stuff like that, there's just so much crap, and people are mean and mean-spirited, and there's just a lot of evil in this world. I would start off by saying, when you go out every morning, just set a goal to be nice to people. You run into some people, and it happens to me just like it happens to everybody. You go to a grocery store or something, and another patron there, or maybe it's the lady that's a person that's at the checking you out or whatever, just gets snarky with you. You don't know what's going on in their life that day or that week or whatever, and we all get like that. I know. I have an anxiety disorder. I take meds for it periodically. I don't take it every day because it only affects me like 5 or 6 days a month. But on the days that it affects me, I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. On the days that it affects me, I wake up on the wrong side of the bed and it gets worse from there. And my gut tightens up, and it's not like anything bad happens over the course of the day, because a lot of times that's not the case, but I continue to spiral downward over the day. And if I don't stay on top of, like, if I don't, I try to be cognizant every day of where my momentum is going to be, because if I realize by lunchtime or by 1 o'clock that I'm further down than I was when I got up, I'm like it's a day to take an Atarax. Yeah. Because that just levels me out, and it makes all the difference in the world. Doesn't make me tired, doesn't make me feel strange. It just completely changes my mood, and I feel better, and I'm a better person. On those days, I'm a better person because I lose my filter if I don't, if I don't. So be nice to people. Just go, put effort into thinking about somebody else first. I'm a Christian. I'll take a moment to talk about that. I gave my life to Christ when I was in high school, I think. And I'm God can change your life. God has certainly changed my life. There's been a number of tragic things that have happened over the course of my life that when I look back, and I was in prayer through all of it, and it does not make it feel like less of a tragedy. Doesn't make it feel worse or better at the time. But when you come out of it and you look back and you have a clear head and you can think all the stuff you were praying about and all the things that that are going on, I can see God's fingerprint on all of them. Now Jerry knows this. A couple months ago, we lost a 5-day-old granddaughter. Toughest day of my life, and it was awful. It was awful. That was a week of devastation. Just like your train just falls off the tracks, and every tank car feels like it's spilled out, and all the chemicals are mixing together, and it's raining and spreading that chemical everywhere you go, and it's on fire and it's exploding, and that's like all happening right inside your home. And I have never had an event in my life that I would say actually shook my faith until that day.
Yeah.
And you hear people talk about people that have lost family members and stuff, and they I know part of the grieving process is getting angry. I remember being angry at God. What the hell? Yeah. What the hell?
Sure.
But I did that for 3 days, and I remember on the end of the third day, I was sitting in my family room at home, and I was staring at the wall, and I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to know in this life the reason why that happened.
Sure.
And so I'm taking all this energy, and I'm like yelling at God, why? Why'd you let this happen? And so in as much as I'm not going to know, I'm not going to understand, I decided that I'm wasting time and energy being mad at God.
Sure.
Eventually, I believe I'll know. But so I decided at that point I was going to take all that energy and focus it on my son and daughter-in-law and whatever they need. And that was the point that I think my healing started.
Sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you're helping them with their healing.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
That's awesome.
But absolutely, now I'm looking back. When I look back at all the things that happened through that week, there's and so much prayer that went into it. I remember things, and I'm like, God, that was God at work right there. Oh, that was God at work right there. Yeah. So, if you are not a Christian, God will change your life, and in ways that you will never know or understand until you do it. You can't try to predict how your life will change, but it'll all be for the better. Not that you won't have problems, but at least you'll have somebody to lean on when you have those problems.
Awesome.
So that's I guess that's my inspiration for the day.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. You opened up. I know that was hard to open up, but we appreciate that.
Sure.
So I just want to shout out real quick here before we wrap this up here. Wednesday, I went into a store here in Parma and buying groceries. There was a guy in front of me. He put his groceries on the floor and he's looking at me, and I'm just like, I understand why this guy's staring at me. And
a lot of people stare at him.
They do. I mean, come on. But he's staring at me, and I'm just like, I'm on ease. I don't know what's going on. And I pull my wallet out, and he says, "Sir," he said, "can you put your wallet away?" He goes, "I was blessed today, and I want to pay it forward.
And I have done that as well.
And that's what I usually do. And I told him, I said, no, usually I'll do that. I said, I'm sure there's somebody else that needs it more than I do. He goes, no, you're a good person. And I know you do good to people. He goes, and that's why I want to pay it forward to you. I just thought that was weird how he said that. And I said, and I'm not going to stand aside in Mark's, and it looks rude standing there arguing with somebody. So I said, sir, I said, if you want to, I said, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So he paid it forward. He paid for my groceries. So the reason being I'm saying this is, Mr. Curry, Nicholas Curry, thank you very much. Look him up if you guys need some work done. He has a business called Curry Installation. I'm gonna list his information on my Facebook and my Instagram, so you guys can get a hold of him. Thank you, Mr. Curry, and it was an act of kindness that has never happened to me, and I greatly appreciate it. I just wanted to shout him out before we get done here.
He was being nice.
He was super nice.
He was being nice.
So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. I think it's called X is the new thing. Look up Inside Edge Network and search Papa Moon. Real Talk with Papa Moon. Also, they have all other podcasts on there. I got a bunch of guys to check them out. So yeah, check out Inside Edge Network. And I'm your host, Papa Moon. I'm going to tell you.
And I'll be back.
He'll be back.
I'll be back.
Stay real, stay kind, and remember, every voice matters. Have a good night.